Okay, thought it might be fun to shoot a quick video to go over these new pieces and sort of explain all the sort of interesting tidbits that make this project a little unique or a little interesting. So first of all, this is sort of a continuation of the MG1. The original one was a stout little fellow. This one is a much longer piece. And with that came some new challenges. So I'll just jump right in here. So this is the MG1. So this I am calling the MG2 tone because it's two-tone. The original prototype for this, when I started this, I wanted to have like a nice longer, slimmer piece was the idea, but there were a lot of sort of barriers. So this is the original one, all in stainless steel. And the first issue I ran into was that being a longer piece, this is a lot heavier. And given the extra mass that's in the piece, it didn't really work right. The magnets that are in this original piece, there's like an optimal weight where the feel is right. And so first things first, this was too heavy. It didn't work right when you did the there's no magnets in it, but when you did the auto retract, it would shoot past because there's just too much inertia. So I had to lighten it somehow. Second issue I ran into is that this is a much longer piece, and it's pretty thin. 303 series stainless steel has a lot of internal stresses inside of it, and working with the longer piece, I was actually getting a lot of warping. So I don't know if you can see this or not, but from end to end, they're touching on both ends, but you get like a sort of a concave surface, even though these were milled flat to start. But after the turning operation, these were warping up on me, so I had a couple of issues. So the solution to that it sort of solved a lot of problems all at once was to make these two pieces. One of the other reasons I wanted to do a two-part object like this was with the original one. The brass ones and the copper ones, sort of the guide ways, if you dropped it, they could dent pretty easily. And so a lot of people were suggesting, well, you should make a stainless bottom, and then have the brass and copper just be a visual aspect of the piece instead of structural. And I thought, well, for the MG1, that's not really the appropriate course, but for this, I thought I might explore that. So to make this all work, I came up with a two-piece design to sort of lighten this all up. So as you can see, each of these has an aluminum inlay that I'm anodized, and the reason for that isn't just because it looks nice. It does look nice, but the reason for that is to really give me an opportunity to lighten this piece up. So the bottoms are stainless steel, but within that, the sort of the machining that allows for the inlay, there's a lot of room to really take out metal and sort of make this as light as possible. Now that sort of exacerbated my warping issue. These are warping something between 0.01 inches, 1/100th of an inch, to sort of around 15 thousandths of an inch from end to end by the time I'm at this point in the machining. So what I had to do was sort of build in a way to hold these. So the inlay allows me to lighten the piece up, but it also allows me to machine this feature here, which is so that I can get a bite on that, and then the very last step is a final planing and machining of the sort of ball tracks, so that they're all nice and flat. So that's sort of a lot of fun to try and to solve all that. The next thing that I ran into is that even with all of that, see my tape to hold these, they're magnetic, so if you try and put them around each other, they sort of attract and repel each other. So the original design had 4 tracks, and even with all of that, even with holding it and doing the final planing, I was still getting a tiny bit of warping. So even a few 10 thousandths of an inch of variation was causing these to rock, just because they're so long. You can get, let me see if I can find one that rocks a little more than the other. I think this red one does. So if you hear that, it rocks ever so slightly. And I tried to compensate for that. I tried to make the ends a little hair deeper, or, you know, to sort of see if I could figure out which way the piece was trying to bow. But bottom line, you know, I never got any of them perfect. Actually, that's not true. This blue one is perfect. But with the 4 tracks, I was just running into too many complications to get this nice and flat. Even if I got it flat, just torquing something down would just flex it just enough to make it, you know, a little bit out. So back to the drawing board, and the final solution for that was to opt for 3 tracks instead of 4. So the final version just has 3 nice tracks, and if you know anything about tripod, it will always stand no matter how uneven the surface. So even though these are pretty dead on, having the 3 tracks really accommodates for any sort of flexure or variation in what's going on with the 303 stainless. So I'm pretty happy with how these all turned out. I like that I had this opportunity to sort of play with color, and I think they sort of just turned out these gorgeous gems. And bottom line, you know, adding that little aluminum insert really did take out just enough mass that these really work perfectly, and they feel nice. And the last thing I sort of started playing with, so this one has ceramic inserts in it. As you can hear, it's nice and loud. But I've also started, bought a couple of, what is it? Some plastic inserts. I don't remember what plastic it is, but it's nice and hard resin bearings, which are a lot quieter and actually help take up some of the noise. And and the other interesting thing about the plastic bearings is I think there's a lot less risk that if you drop this thing that it's gonna actually ding the raceways. I think the bearing will be just ever so slightly softer than the steel, so it sort of is a sacrificial thing, and the bearings are cheap, so there's that. A lot of fun. Yeah, so I'm gonna probably be putting these up soon, and I'd like to hear what all of you have to say or what y'all think. So thanks.